Teal. There we go.
Working for the weekend, and I want to see a show. Face. Yeah, I know where to go. There's a man over there into the music scene.
Your opinion matters.
Sure does. Sure
Lots
does.
of love.
For the community.
With great advice.
I know who I should go see.
Oh, mess.
You too. Don't worry about it. Here's our shower.
Shower.
That's where I go for the latest band info.
Doggies.
What's that noise? No.
For the music that comforts my soul. It's the all around town radio show. The all around town radio.
There we go. All right.
Look.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
What's going on today?
Hey, Jeff, I got your text message.
Oh, you just talked to Jeff then.
Well, yeah, it's,
Doing business.
business.
Business. Business.
Business.
Wow. Interesting.
What?
Interesting. Oh, I'm just looking at some stuff online here that's popping up on the screen. So
Hi,
let's see who's here today.
Hi,
Y'all too?
Kara, Jim, the fans, Kevin Cooper, Rob, Kareem,
Bill. Hi, Bill.
Bill.
Kara. We'll just get their comments up here real quick. Toy in the house.
They're playing this Saturday.
They are. Jeff Vance.
Mr. Vance.
Yes, the Vance man. Coop.
Coopy Doop.
The champ is in the house. The champ. Glenn on the YouTube.
Glenn. Hello, Glenn. We got a few YouTubers today. Did you
We
see
do.
that?
I see Jeff. I see Glenn. I see Bill. On Rob Paisley.
Rick
also.
Piper.
Rick Piper is in the house. Rockstar is in the house. In the house. What happened? There. Okay, we're back.
What happened?
Oh, I hit a button.
Oh.
I hit the mute button on my earpieces. My
Pieces.
Yes. So, how you been?
Good. How are you?
Haven't seen you since Saturday. Saturday was fun.
Saturday was a little too much fun.
I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm just going to say it was a blast with our friends from Ladder. I mean, they came down from the north, across the Mason-Dixon line.
It was pleasant. I mean, my whole crew was pleasantly surprised. Not many bands play that kind of music and as well as they do. That was something special, I'll tell you that much.
They rocked it. They did, I guess.
The sound was a bit of an issue for the first set, but that's from the night before, and that poor sound man tried his hardest to get that going. But as soon as everything was figured out, it was absolutely phenomenal. And I don't think, it was great. It was phenomenal.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Bill. Phenomenal is the good word for that. I talked about it on yesterday's show, but man, I mean, they came to play. They did. And I was so glad they made the trek down and did that, because that's a long haul for them. I mean, this is like a road tour. Yeah. I mean, for most of them, it's a couple-hour drive, and some of them even more than that. So.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah. They came from the north. It was cold where they came from.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
No, they're a great bunch of guys. I really enjoy them. And Jim, man, the lead guy there, the lead singer, doesn't he work the crowd like a champ?
I'm going to say this. Yes, he did. He worked the crowd. Those were some they seemed like professional musicians, just like, I don't know. There was something really, like, just from from everything. Even when the sound was off, they still sounded good, even though the sound was off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they made it
the
happen.
crowd, Quentin on the guitar, the drummer, the bassist, all of them. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
Speaking of drummers, Rob Carpenter's here.
Oh,
Rob, their drummer.
Rob.
Hi, Rob.
He was sweet. I didn't get a chance to really talk to him, but he was all smiles and kind. But yeah, I mean, I don't drink, and I drank that night. I was ready to party.
And I have to give your disclaimer because I never see you drink. I've been there countless times, and you never drink. And that night, and it was so funny because I was up getting a drink, and Kathy Laverde was behind me. I said, Kathy, what are you drinking? She goes, oh, just club soda and lime. I don't drink hardly at all anymore.
She does.
And then I turn around, and the two of you are an absolute shit show. No, can I say that? No, you guys were having fun. You were back in your little corner back there. The corner I call the hiding place sometimes to get away from a massive crowd there at the Bell, and you guys were having a blast, and it was so fun to see. So much fun. Yeah, she hasn't drank in like 2.5 months, and I may have a couple of drinks every year or whatever. I don't know. I stopped wanting to drink like about 3-4 years ago. And it was just so much fun. We just were having such a good time. It was a blast. And we would have had fun even if we weren't drinking. I don't want anybody to think we needed to drink to do that, but it was great. See, Erica, it was so much fun. It was a blast. Yes, I ran into Mart in the restroom, and he was talking about him having to be the DD for everybody. He always is. Yeah, and and then on the way home, I passed the wagon that you both fell off of, leaving the parking lot. So it was. You fell off a wagon? You did. You both fell off the wagon that night because for those of you that don't drink much, you had fun and it was good. Which segues into what we're talking about. How can a band come from nowhere? I mean, these people at the Bell had no idea who they were, first of all, and keep a crowd like they did all night. Yeah. And then, go ahead. Let's not forget, June is one of our slowest months. The summer, we are not a summer bar. Our numbers tank during the summer, and June especially, as soon as it's first, there were some people, there wasn't like crazy busy by any means, but there were some people there, and those people stayed. There were a handful of people that left because it was too loud in the beginning. Like I said, we got it all fixed, but the rest stayed and they loved it. And there were a few that were popping next door too. You get a good crowd from the comedy club who comes in, gets a drink or two, and then they go to their comedy show, and then they end up coming back in. I saw that too. They came in later, so that was cool as well. But that does lead us into our topic today. Why are some bands more popular than others? And our view is, you take a band that calls you and says, hey, I'm from Nashville. I want to come through on my routing and I want to stop. And they never draw anybody or keep a crowd. And it seems like that's a routine for some of those people. These guys come 2 hours away. Not only did they bring a crowd, they brought friends of theirs who are from up north, but they also kept a crowd. And what makes a band more popular than others? And I have some ideas about what happened on Saturday night to make them as popular as they were. But what do you think? Well, I also think the difference is the people that I'm just going to say it. The difference between a lot of those bands that are reaching out, coming from Nashville, are original bands. So unless you know them, and the music that the songs that they write and sing, what reason would you go see? Do you know what I mean? I think right. No, it's a fact, and it's a shame. It's a fact. It is a shame, and we're trying to figure out a way to make it work at my venue. But with Ladder, they have a killer set list, a set list that everybody knows from a certain age range. I mean, even if you didn't, and they just do it so well. And I mean, luckily, the majority of my crowd loves that kind of music. And they don't play in not many. There's probably one. I don't even know what other band plays the set list that they had. What other band plays that kind of music consistently? Well, I mean, there are some. I think they are definitely 80s driven rock and roll. But different. Yeah, that's not. They don't do the same old tunes that a lot of play, and there was a lot of deep cuts thrown in there and things that people like, that they recognize. Deep cuts that people know.
not
Yeah.
deep cuts that people don't know.
I know where you're going. I
Yeah.
have heard you on that rant before, but yeah. And Mickey, I was just going to say, Sweet Sister Mercy is about the closest to that set list that I've seen out there. You do?
Yeah. I mean, I love
Go
Sweet
ahead.
Sister Mercy, but they play a lot of deep cuts that not a lot of people know. They did in the beginning.
I'm just listening. I'm
No, that's
making
fine.
faces, but no, I don't know. I would say if I had to pick one band that was close to their set list, that would be Sweet Sister Mercy, because they are in that wheelhouse.
Well, they
And
definitely are very similar. Yes.
one thing that goes on, and I want to talk about it today, is we were talking about what makes a band more popular than others. And what I've seen in my experiences are that bands who keep the ball rolling all night long, who don't do the, oh, we're saving our best for last, those kind of things. The bands who don't start out with a flat set list, they start out with a banger and go all the way through with a banger. They're the ones that make it. And this band segues from one song to another instantly. Other than Jim standing up there yelling green light and everybody taking a drink, other than that and a few words he has to say, this band rocks through their set nonstop. There's no noodling. There's no playing around on stage. There's no tuning up. I mean, it's just raw talent up there, and they make it happen. And that, I think that's a thing that keeps a band popular. And if you look at the popular bands in the Cincinnati area, Ceris, there is a reason for that. There's a reason, and there's a lot of reasons, not just stage presence and how you do it, but it's how you act off the stage, how you interact with your followers. We've talked about a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But what do you think the main thing is that keeps bands in the forefront and other bands just kind of fizzle away? I mean, what do you think causes that? That's a question. That's a hard question. I know it is.
Well, I mean, their stage presence and their passion will, speaks like Rockstar. They got a ton of stage. I mean, I'm not talking their get-ups, because I think they could be just as powerful without the wigs and all of that. But Ladder enjoys themselves on stage. They're really good at what they're doing on stage. They love what they do on stage. And that to me speaks volumes. They don't have dead silence between every freaking song. They're not, it's upbeat the whole time. Just wait till next set. This is when we get really good. Oh, for fuck's sake.
I hate that statement.
I hate that. And I can't believe how many bands still do that.
So, if you made a list of just, and I know you'll never do this because you're too much of a professional business person, but if you made a list that just said, here are the top 10 local bands I recommend everybody to go see, you know in your mind who's on that list. Yeah. And there's a reason why they're on that list. So what would put them on that list? And Bill, before you answer that, Bill, thank you. That makes my heart swell, man. Thanks for that, because he's saying the podcast interview of Ladder got me.
Good.
That's what we do that for. I mean, that's why we do those lead-ins to when they're doing a show somewhere and all that, so that people will go see them and realize there's guys behind the faces on stage, and that's what that show was about. So thank you, Bill. I appreciate you. Ceris, back to that question. If you were to make that list, what would be a reason that would put people in the top 10 list of bands or solo artists, for that matter, that you would want people to go see? I'm sure people ask you.
Things that I just mentioned.
Anything else that rocks your world? I mean, anything else that makes you, want to go see a band even out of your venue? You go places, I know, and see bands. So what makes you do that?
I mean, their talent, who they are as people, their showmanship. I don't know their set list. I don't know. What about you?
Well, I think I agree with what you said earlier about the no break between songs and all that. That's one, because like Ladder the other night got probably 10 to 15 more songs than a lot of bands do in their allotted time, because there was no screwing around. I mean, they just played the music for everybody. And some bands spend a lot of time on breaks. I was watching their drummer, Rob. He had the time on his the break time on his phone, and he'd walk up to the band members showing them how much time they had left on the break and all that. I asked him, I said, "Are you the official timekeeper?" He said, "Yeah, I kind of have to herd them in tonight or whatever." But that's good, because you can get wrapped up in a conversation in the room with somebody and realize, oh, I've been on break for 30 minutes, which is not good. And I talked yesterday. Now, Ladder didn't do it, but bands that make me happy are bands that do 2 sets in their allotted time for the night.
Yeah,
And
I like.
don't take big breaks, especially at the end of the night. A big break at the end of the night's a killer.
One of my favorite bands is also one of the bands that irritate me the most with their breaks, because they take 2 30-minute breaks, and it can really just destroy the momentum.
There's my great philosopher, Kevin Cooper. Be a band that you would go see if you were in it. It's about the audience. Thank you, Kevin Cooper. That's an excellent statement. It is. So why would you want to go see somebody? Well, be that in your own band, I guess. That's probably a great statement to make. And some people miss that in their world. And Kara said she missed last Wednesday with the band. Yeah, Ladder that's been around a while. Yes, Latter, Kara. Yes, and I don't know the exact how many years. They said it on the show, but I don't remember. Bob says confidence in the ability to own the room, the it factor, the ability to reach people all the way in the back. And boy, they did that Saturday night.
They did.
That room was hopping. But what would make a band not make the list?
You're right, Dewey, that when bands take a second break with all, yeah, I hate it. And there's a couple of bands that I still book that do that, but they are good bands, but it's extremely frustrating and annoying.
Kareem says he thinks the audience can tell when a band is putting in effort. Well, yeah, and Saturday was a great example of that. Those guys put in tons of effort. And I don't just want to dwell on Ladder, but I want to talk about, there's so many popular bands in Cincinnati and so many choices for people. And I guess longevity is another thing. What keeps the band in the forefront for a long time? Because we've all seen flash in the pan bands that lasted a couple weeks or a month or 2, and people are talking about them. And then all of a sudden they just kind of like break up and go away and never come back. And that's not a good thing either. But there's got to be some reasons. And if you're out there in the audience today, we want to hear from you. What makes a band more popular to you than another band? And what makes a band less popular? We want to know that too, because that's important for people to know, is what turns you off to a band and makes you not want to go see them. Obviously, sound is a big issue.
Yeah.
Lighting can be a big issue for some.
The
set list is huge. And deep cuts are fine. Musicians dig deep cuts. Other musicians dig deep cuts. But that doesn't necessarily mass appeal.
No. So that's why I specifically say there are some deep cuts that everybody knows. They just weren't like, they know those, but there are some that they don't. And those are strictly for the musician. And like I always say, I think that's amazing. And you should totally play those when you're playing with your buddies in your own home and not expecting to get paid.
There you have it.
Or when you're at a just with musicians somewhere where you're not, your whole, if you're asking to be paid to play music at a venue, then play music that people know.
And Diana, I agree and disagree with you. I agree. I love to see videos of bands. That entices me sometimes to go see them. If I see somebody post something and it's super good, it makes me, it's like the guy that won your voice competition, Voodoo Child.
Yeah.
I've seen video. I've never seen him. I want to go see him because of what I've seen on video.
Yeah.
But sometimes don't put a lot of credence into video, because sometimes the video does not show the quality of the band. Depending on who took it. Like Bill's, I love Bill's videos. He does a great job. Okay?
I will say this. I will watch videos, and I'm glad that they exist, because sometimes they are so bad. And I say to them, I said, why did you choose to post this video? Well, it's one of our best ones. And I say, got it. And then I know not to book them.
Josh, that's spot on, man. Too much talking between songs.
Yeah.
You know, this is the fourth cut off our third album, removed, that nobody's ever bought on Spotify, but we're going to tell you all about how we wrote it. And I like storytellers as much as anybody, but don't get too deep into it. I've only known one band not locally, but recently, that I love that tells stories, is JJ Gray. And he tells great stories, but he's got that knack. And some people have it and some people don't. Sometimes you're better off yelling green light and everybody taking a drink, which Ladder did on Saturday. It was great, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, hi, Lee Dixon.
Hi,
Billy Baker. Thank you for being here. And Josh Morgan says being able to play to the crowd. Yeah. And read the room. We've talked about that a lot. I mean, on the show, read the room is so important, and be able to call an audible. If your set list may not work with the room you got to call an audible. You know, a lot of songs. I mean, Ladder has a ton of songs. They only touched a tip of it the other night at the Bell. They have so many songs they could have played. And
I think also a band that switches it up, like they have multiple songs and they can switch it up. And I'll go back to this, you know. Well, I'm not gonna say it because people always take it out of context.
Yeah, people don't take what we say too serious. A lot of times we're talking in generalities here. We're not pointing fingers.
I'll say, you know, if you play too many of something, they're like, oh, and you don't like any slow songs, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, shut up.
Well, I've said that about you too, though. You're not a slow song fan.
No, but I do appreciate one or two. In our shows, there are 0 throwaway songs or deep cuts that are specifically for the band. It takes one song to lose a crowd that you worked with. There you go, Bob Klein again with the smarts.
I want to hang out with Bob Klein, man.
Me too.
He's a smart dude. Yeah, and amen. What turns on the band doesn't always turn on the crowd. That's the whole thing. Well, I love this song. I play this song because I love this song. Okay. Great. You know, play it on the couch at home then. If the crowd doesn't like it and you don't get crowd response, then do that. I want to bump back up to Kara's comment. She says, I think talent, vibing with the audience and putting on a great, not perfect performance every time. I think if you're a frequent flyer band too in a region and you play a lot, you should change your set list, because I hate going where I can tell you what the next song's going to be.
Agreed. I think that's a good statement, Kara. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it, you know, an entertaining put on a show. Don't just play the music. But also, show doesn't mean all of these flat, like it doesn't. It just means show me you're enjoying it.
Corona, that's all right. I think you know, that's a Bad Company tune. I wouldn't call that too big of a deep cut. It was a fairly popular song.
Yeah, that's
when we're talking deep cuts, we're like the you know, the 18th track off of the Led Zeppelin album from back in such a day that nobody listened to that song, even though there are huge Led Zeppelin fans. But you know, that's some of the stuff that goes on out there. Hi, Ryan Schwab and Gina. Hi, Gina. Gina, congratulations. Say, you know, we've said it all on our pages, but my God, I'm so happy for this band. Gina and Johnny Band and Karis, kind of your brainchild on that one too. So
I'm really happy for them. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yes. And yes, JJ is great storyteller, which the band is already playing the intro to the song as he's saying this. So it's like he just perfectly segues like a DJ into the song. It's awesome when he does that. And
Graham.
The story needs to go with the song. Yes, it does. What else we got? Let's see.
Jim Graham's comment.
Yes.
Command the audience. Well, luckily for you, Jim, they all did.
Jim had a birthday yesterday, by the way.
Oh, happy birthday, Jim. It was such an honor to have you sing on my stage this past weekend.
Yes. Diana was going to ask what a deep cut was. Yes. Just something that's on the B side of something that is a great song, but nobody really cares about anymore. Unfortunately, I hate to say that. There's a lot of musicians going to hate me for saying that, but for the general population, if you're playing to the prison yard, the gin pop, they don't care. If you're playing to a room full of talented technical musicians, yeah, they might like those songs. But that's kind of how that works. What else we got here? Let's see what Michael Shooter has to say. Hi, Mike. Mike's driving the rescue boat there. Hi, Mike. Yes. End of the day, be a student of your craft, go to different venues and watch what works and what doesn't, and put that into play with your band. Mike played in a band years ago. He did. He knows. He knows. Look at Denny Cottle. He's covering us up. Well, I'm above the water line. You're not. There we go. Reading the room. We had one of our best Southern summer tip bucket nights at Mr. Burroughs last Thursday. Did a ton of requests on the fly. Duran Duran, Hootie and the Blowfish, a few country requests. Yeah, there we go. And I love bands that can play on the fly. I mean, Kevin Cooper, he's on here. I mean, they do a thing where they have slips that go out into the audience. You write a request, it comes up, and they pick them and do them. And I mean, that takes talent, because there's a lot of bands that won't go out of that set list comfort zone. I'm telling you, they like that. And, you know, we can't deviate from the set list. And I get it, like with Ladder in some ways, because everything segues into something next, and it works, and it's kind of the same, like in the old disco days, beats per minute. It's the same kind of style, and it ebbs and flows and all that. But it's tough to be in a band and try to be popular, and popular can fade in a second. And we've all seen that happen just with national acts. Why does it happen locally, you think? Anybody have any ideas? Ceris, you got some things today too to talk about, don't you?
Well, I'm just Black One Cat. Their set list nowadays is really, really good. Yeah, I agree. And Kevin, I always advertise when it comes to the Hanky Panks that you take requests, because that makes your party, like, that is what makes, I feel like, your band. I mean, you guys are great. I'm not saying you're not great, but that adds to, like, because of the type of music you guys play in general. That is a big selling point for you guys, because it just adds to the fun.
Well, and hint, it keeps people too. I mean, people are like, "Oh, I want to wait to hear my song get played." It's
not for every band. It's not for every band, but it works really well for them.
Well, and they don't play stump the band either. I mean, if they get something that's so bizarre, they're like, "Nah, I can't do that." You know, right. I mean, that's the way it is. They know what they can play and how they do it, but it's an excellent, genius idea for a local band to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, that keeps people coming back, too, to see the Hanky Panks, I think, because they're not going every week and hearing the same set list, because it's a request list on one of their whole sets. And that's fun. And what's Kevin saying here? It's the crowd show, just playing it.
Yeah, and that makes it fun. That makes it just engaging and just perfect. I think it's great.
And Bill says Kevin Cooper is a live jukebox. Well, and yeah, let me shout out Mr. Cooper. I always say he can sing and play anything, and what a gem he is to have in the house band Thursdays at the Bell.
Oh yeah,
he's one of those guys that I've seen look at other people there, and I've said it numerous times. You know, you guys know this? No, we've never played it. You ever played it? No, let's try it, and they do it, and they kill it. You know, it's just It's amazing. They're so good. So good. So anything else you think that would drive people away and make a band less popular? Let's talk about the downside of this, because we've talked about all the things that make them good. What would make a band less popular with the folks that come see them? It's a difficult subject.
Well, I feel like we've touched on all of that, like long breaks. Too long of breaks, too much dead space between songs, putting people to sleep. There
is one we haven't touched on.
What?
Arrogance.
Oh, well, I always say be kind. Arrogance will not only kill the vibe, but it also lose your gig, lose your job.
And if you get into the band business or musician business, what comes with the territory is people who want a piece of you. They want to take a moment and have you talk to them and smile with them and let them tell you a story or whatever. That's part of the job. And the minute you lose track of that, I think you have problems, especially on the local level. Now, a national level, I get it. Thousands and thousands of people want a piece of you. You can't physically do that. But when you're playing in a bar, don't go hide. I mean, you need your break time, I know, but don't go hide away from the people. You know, I watched a guy during the COVID, and this was a different story, but sit on the stage on his drum kit and never left the stage the entire show. He didn't even go pee for 4 hours. All right. Never left the drum kit. And I'm thinking, what kind of image does that portray? You know,
I know a couple of people who do that just even now, not during COVID. It's probably the same person. Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why I don't book a certain band, because they were all, well, they weren't all, but there was mainly one arrogant. And during breaks, they just sat on their, what's it called? Their amp during the break on stage and didn't leave the stage.
And Steve, thank you for that. I do not play, I play bass a little bit, but I don't play an instrument like for a craft. Why do some bands have to tune their guitar after every song?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Somebody tell me what that's about, because other bands I see play through a whole set and you know, they might kick the little tuning thing on it down at their feet and look at it for a minute and tune a string or whatever, but they're not stopping the show to tune a guitar.
Yeah.
And many of them, why can't you buy one of those little devices too? Why do you have to tune through the amp so everybody can hear it?
Yeah.
That's the other thing I want to know, because I mean, I know everybody's got either on acoustic, something that sticks on the neck, or one of those that you plug through. And
things.
What's that?
What are they called? What is it called?
The little tuning thing.
Yeah, tuning thing.
But you know what I'm saying. And there's foot pedals that do it. There's all kinds of things that do it. And it takes you offline when you're tuning, and it tells you if you're in E or whatever, you know, and all that stuff. But I don't know. I want to know that from some people. So comment if you can. Bob Klein says lack of self-awareness to drive people away. Yeah.
But I think that's more
I get the tuning pedal part. I want to know what the little thing on the neck's called. Is it just the
lack of self-awareness thing won't get you rehired. And then people will be like, this band's just not good.
Yes, Rob. Flow is a great word. And that's, you know, Rob's the drummer for Ladder. They flow. They do. That's a great term. Yeah. I didn't say that when I was describing it, but I said segue, but they flow between songs, and it's good. And I noticed too, that if Jim starts talking, sometimes you guys start playing the intro. I don't know if that's to shut Jim up or if that's to actually segue into that next song, but it's cool the way you do it. I love it. And yes, Sugar Rock says a tuning pedal. Yes. And learn to tune on the fly mid-song silently, of course. Thank you, Tom. Tom's a guitar player. He should know that. And not a capo, but I'm talking, yeah, just the tuner that goes on an acoustic guitar. Is there a name for it, or is it just a headstock tuner? Kevin says, okay,
Snark
thanks.
Tuners.
Snark tuners, we're learning. Rick says Snark. Yeah, okay. That's a brand, isn't it? I think, of those. But yeah, I mean, that's cool. That you've got a tuner and all that. I'm beating my microphone up here. So I think we've talked about this topic a lot, but it was one that popped up today from someone, and thank you for submitting. We appreciate that. But they wanted to know, and they were mentioning all kinds of band names, and I don't want to get into band names, but you know, what gets a band a gig like at a big 100,000 person festival versus another band that may be equally as good? A lot of that is who you know.
Yeah.
A lot of that is connections over the years. I don't think that has a lot to do with, you know, obviously the talented bands get booked for these things, but it really, when it comes down to it, is we've had that band every year at our festival. They do a great draw. They do this, so we have them back. We just met the other day for Springfest, and we were talking about bands, and there's a thing that's coming out on my page. So if you're a band out there and you'd like to play Springfest next year, 3-day musical event, we'll have a way you can hit a link and you can put in an application to play. Now, we talked about, do you do the same bands every year? You know, does that become mundane, just like at your festival? Do you have the same headliner on Saturday night every year if they're popular? I don't know. You know, it's a tough call. It's a tough call. It is. And Kevin says if he has to tune, he can talk to the crowd during it and kill two birds. Thank you. Yeah, make it look not so obvious that we stop the whole set to tune. And that happens a lot. And the other thing is, when somebody's talking in your band to the crowd, the noodling behind them sometimes overpowers what they're saying, and everybody's like, what'd they say? You know, or the drummer's rat-a-tatting or something back there while the guy up front's trying to tell this crowd a story. And you won't see that ever on a national act. the singer would lose their mind over that. But it happens on the local level sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think you summed it up though. Be nice.
Be nice. Always.
We've said that how many times? Be nice.
So be nice.
And you'll become popular. I know some people that are mediocre players and singers. They'll tell you that. They'll admit that. But they have a great following because of their interaction with their audience and the way they take a break and see everybody and shake hands and thank them for being there. And
their passion on stage and the show they put on.
Yes.
Doesn't always have to be perfect. It just has to be great. Like
yes.
Two very different things.
Absolutely.
Now, there are bands, and this goes with the self-awareness thing, that aren't good. They're just not.
And
they're not.
That's why the popularity declines, because they don't make an effort to get better.
Or they do, but unfortunately they just don't have that it. They just don't have it. And that's why they're not getting booked. And again, I ask you, listen to your videos and then listen to a video of a band that you think is like, can you say that they're I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not going to tell a band that though, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but
that's a great question. Denny just popped up on the screen here. He says, great tight band that didn't bring a good crowd versus sloppy band that brings a good crowd. Who are you inviting back to your venue first?
My tight band. I'll tell you, a lot of my bands that played, they don't bring a big crowd. Yes, half of my favorite bands bring a crowd. The other half, they happen to have it all. The other half, they don't bring a crowd, and not because they're not tight or good or whatever. They might like live a little far or whatever it may be. But I'll take a nice group of people, tight band that put on an excellent show over a sloppy any of that. I don't need it. I don't have to deal with that. I'm not dealing with that.
I'm going to be the devil on your shoulder, though, and tell you, I talked recently to a venue operator who runs a private club, which is a social type membership only club, and they do great on their weekend bands. They always fill the place. And I said, there was a band that played there, and I said, I've seen them play. You seem to have them a lot. And his comment back to me was, they suck. He goes, they're terrible, but they bring 300 people every time they play to our venue, and we give them the opportunity. And all these people seem to think they don't suck. So there it is, Okay,
but is that the same as sloppy?
Well, I think maybe that's where Denny was at with some of that. A sloppy band that brings a good a band that's not as technically tight as in good players. Miss a note or two, off key every once in a while.
There was a band that used to play like in the beginning of when I owned it that would they would pack the place, but they were not good. So I stopped bringing them in. There was a band that would pack the place and they were excellent, but they were assholes. So I stopped bringing them in. To me, it's not about one thing. First of all, you got to be kind. Second of all, you got to have talent. There's got to be talented, but I don't think there's one way of doing business, but the one rule that I always stick to is if you have arrogance, you're in the wrong house, get out. If you think, you're above everyone, get out. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how many people you bring in my house. I don't care.
Well, and I wrote a few things down earlier before we were starting the show, and I wrote a great band has the right combination of talent, interplay, and dynamics with the crowd. Right. It also helps to choose good songs. I mean, that is a must.
It is it's big time. And some of the bands that I book may not technically be great, but they have a great set list, and the songs that they do sing, they're good at. And yeah, they bring people, and they're just nice people. Not every band is going to be the best band you've ever heard.
Well, there's no magical pill either that makes a band good or bad. It's just a combination of talent that clicks. And a perfect example, Gina and Johnny band. I mean, they brought Greg Ambergy in the other day. I mean, he's a super talented guy. They pasted that together, and they're going to Memphis to represent Cincinnati in the International Blues Challenge. And I mean, And we all know Gina's voice. We all know that Gina can turn heads in a room. And we know that the band that's backing her, I mean, Johnny Fink's no slouch. He's been playing for years and does a great job. And the rest of the band's superb.
Yeah.
And they've found a niche, and they've found something that works, and they're running with it. And I think that's a great thing, because so many bands, again, let their egos get in the way of stopping what's good and works for the band. They're like, no, I don't necessarily like those songs. And well, the crowd liked them.
The crowd liked them. And if you're
Yeah.
playing, yeah.
Yeah. And I disagree. I saw a quote online. A guy said a great band can't be manufactured or duplicated by throwing super talent on stage. I kind of disagree with that, because I've seen that happen. Thursday nights at your place. I've seen the Bell Dwellers. I've seen things like that you can actually take 4 or 5 talented individuals, put them together, let them have a couple practices, and they can make shit happen. I mean, they can.
Yeah.
They can do it, and it's well received by the crowd. So I don't know that that's it. There's no perfect answer to this question on what makes a band more popular than others. And I mean, look at the bands who have become popular in the national scene, and a year later, it's like, who is that?
Right.
I mean, God, look what happened to Nickelback. I mean, I hate to say that, but everybody gets on Nickelback campaign, but Nickelback was a band that everybody loved. They were raving about them. And then all of a sudden,
everyone still loves them.
It became cool to hate them,
Well, yeah, it became cool to hate him. But when they still, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Nickelback by any means. I completely enjoy making fun of them, even though they don't deserve it, because they're incredible businessmen. But they have a show, they have a concert, they'll sell out almost every single time.
Yeah. There are people that love them. There are people that love to hate them. Some bands are putting earplugs and ring the cash register bands. Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, no doubt. And I love the birds in the background.
Same, Bob Klein, same.
Bill loves your opinions, by the way.
Bill.
He doesn't love mine, though. He does. I love Bill. Bill's a great guy, by the way. And what a guy to do the video he does. And
I love cover bands. I'm sick and tired of people disrespecting cover bands. I'm sick and tired of it.
No reason. Creed's another one. Mike Shooter said, yes, another example of that. And Bob Klein says, yeah, Nickelback sucks. Thanks, Bob. I love it. You got anything else today, Karis? We're running out of time. You had a couple things, I think.
I want to talk about social media and social media presence. I just launched my new website, and on my website, I have where you can, pretty much apply to play at the bar. And one of the questions that I put in there, what are your social media credentials? Like send me so I can see who you are. A lot of people that I've spoken to, they DM me on Instagram or an email, and I say, what's your Facebook? And they say, oh, we don't have a Facebook. And I say, oh, why don't you have a Facebook? Well, because, we just, Facebook isn't really it anymore. It's like Instagram and it's YouTube. I said, that's weird. I said, that seems like a waste of an opportunity to me. And, a lot of my followers are on, I have 9,000 followers on Facebook and 1,000 followers on Instagram. So I ask you, why wouldn't you have a Facebook account? So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to make it really, really clear, because I don't want anybody to think that I'm Mark. By the way, Mark is calling me. He forgets that I do this show. You are really missing out on getting your band booked or getting your band seen by sticking to just one social media platform and not using Facebook, especially Facebook. As much as you hate it, everybody's calling it the old person's social media.
BS.
It is, but let me tell you something. The old people are the ones, like myself, are the ones that are coming to the shows and spending the money. And if you want to get booked at the Bell and the Bear or at one of these music venues that are on Facebook, you should have a Facebook account. I understand how much everybody loves your YouTube. I understand that it's great. But I have yet to check YouTube, had to check YouTube to see what a local band that I'm going to book. I don't care if you don't like Facebook, but unless you're trying to book yourself and pay yourself, I would suggest you utilize all of your social media so everybody can be a part of it and know who you are.
Yes, Bob. Absolutely. Disposable income.
It's silly. It's ignorance. It drives me insane. Like, well, we don't have Facebook. But I do.
There's days it frustrates the hell out of both of us.
But
it does. But
and
you got to have it.
My followers
yes.
And that is what you're selling to. You are selling to my followers. You don't do this. I understand you do this for you because you love music. But if you're wanting to get paid for the thing that you love, then you have to accommodate the people that are paying for you. It's not brain surgery.
Michael Shooter, you have a page on.
We have a page on Nextdoor.
Love it. Love it. Love it. How about OnlyFans? Do we have anybody with a page on OnlyFans? That's what I want to know. All right. So, yeah. And Dewey had a question. Let me pop it up there. I don't know if you want to answer that or not, but there it is for you. It's for you. It's not for me.
I loved Boogie G and the Titanics. I haven't heard from him in a minute. I don't have a problem booking them again. I'm thinking the travel time might be a bit too much for them. I don't know.
It is a haul. It's a couple hours for them.
It's a couple hours. I get it.
But no further than ladder. Megan, how are you?
Let's talk about Megan Miller. If it wasn't for Megan Miller and her being on the show, which is on like Facebook and all this, I wouldn't have known that she changed her set list and she's like almost like a brand new band. And I'm absolutely loving it. You know, I don't know.
Glenn says he likes your new webpage, by the way. And
thank you. I have to keep updating it. I love it. I
guilty of not checking it. I need to look at it. I am. Yes, Sugar Rock. Cooper. That's a good comment there by Sugar Rock.
Music and now both the youngest. Right.
Yeah, and let me tell you, from a guy who does an event every Wednesday with 350 people at it who are from age 10 all the way through their 80s, everybody there has a Facebook account because they answer things, they follow our pages, they do all that stuff. They get their free points. I'm telling you, they all have a Facebook account, whether they want to lie to you or not.
And some of them just have Facebook for business and just to follow the businesses or for their business. You are wasting such an opportunity to grow your product and your brand by just doing Instagram, just doing YouTube. It drives me crazy.
Tom's on Tinder, but that's not helping. All right. That's funny.
Thank you, Kevin Cooper.
Thank you, Kevin Cooper. Yes. And Tom, that's hilarious. Thank you. Hey, we're out of time. We got to go. We do. But Ceris, has been a pleasure talking to you. It was a pleasure hanging with you on Saturday. I had a blast.
That was fun.
Down there. And thanks to our friends again from Ladder.
Yeah.
And, keep your band popular. Keep it popular by being kind and nice and interacting.
And using your social media.
Yes.
It helps.
Yes. Thank you, Dewey. Appreciate you. Michael Shooter. Thank you. Shane DeMoss. Thanks for being with us. Didn't see you were out there, but hi.
I didn't know
Jimmy Kilroy in the house. Always a great guy to have here. So, Ceris, thanks so much. What do you got going at the Bell this week real quick before we go?
On Thursday, our Jam Friday, Angela Combs, Saturday, Rockstar. Tonight we got the single.
Perfect. And I'll be at Mr. Burroughs tonight here in just about an hour.
Nice.
Tuning up your Quiztastic trivia, and then Wednesday nights on the patio at Heather's. It's a great time. You got to come up this year, Ceris, again for a Wednesday night if you get a break, because we're having a great time there every Wednesday at 7. So thanks so much. And Bob says, be nice. Don't suck.
I like Bob.
Thank you. Shane DeMoss says, be nice or he'll beat you up. There it is. All right. Mojo Rising, thanks for being here. We're out of here today, guys.
Rising.
Thanks. Dance us out of here, Ceris. We gone. Bye-bye. Oh, but wait, there's more.
Working for the weekend. Flip on the book of face.
Book of face.
Book of face. Did you do your disclaimer? Views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of our sponsors or any entities they represent.
Sad.
The Bell's the sponsor, though. To go see.
Bye-bye, Karis.
Bye-bye, Scott.
Show.